Welcome to another edition of NewsCap here on Daily World Television. My name is Cal Korff and I'm your host. In some of our top stories for today, former President of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, is now undergoing her official impeachment trial. She is expected to be found guilty and then, of course, prosecuted for criminal activity. Among some of the charges against her is that she illegally cooked the books of Brazil's official finances to go ahead and hide the fact that the state was actually in the red and in serious financial trouble. Brazil's economy, as a result, has been in the tank and is a disaster. They lost billions of dollars hosting the recent Olympics, which didn't even sell out. In fact, the current acting leader of Brazil didn't even show up for the closing ceremony of their Rio Olympics. Rousseff, of course, insists that she's innocent. She's not, but she is expected to be impeached as early as next week. There has been a purported assassination attempt against Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel. While she was on an official visit to Prague for a summit, a middle-aged man went ahead and tried to use his Mercedes car that he was driving to infiltrate her motorcade. Alert Czech police intercepted his vehicle, came close to shooting the driver. It was at that point that the potential assailant or would-be assassin stopped his vehicle, and when police searched it and arrested the man, they found a baton, tear gas, some cement blocks, and some handcuffs. Obviously, whoever this person is, and police are now investigating the matter thoroughly, obviously this would-be assailant was not there to have a beer with Merkel. In the United States presidential race, both contenders for President of the United States, this would be Republican billionaire Donald Trump and Democrat Hillary Clinton, are doing what many politicians are very good at, which is throwing filth on each other. Hillary Clinton is accusing Trump of being a racist, and her campaign insists that people who support Donald Trump are racists, neo-Nazis, xenophobes, and of course that is not true. One of the reasons that Trump has a lot of support is because many Americans are fed up with the two-party system. Trump is not a political insider. In fact, he's never held public office at all. Therefore, his candidacy is appealing to people who believe that we need a viable third-party alternative. Now, there are also people that are angry, so they vote for Donald Trump. Now, logic doesn't necessarily play into such sentiments because experts have analyzed much of what Trump says and proposes, and they are of the unanimous opinion that if a lot of what he says actually becomes U.S. law or policy, that it would be a disaster for the United States. On the other hand, Hillary Clinton does not represent real change. She represents more chump change, and she is part of the problem in the sense that there are only two parties that are wholly responsible for causing much of the problems that the United States faces, such as being $19 trillion now in debt. The debt of the United States is roughly equal to that of its entire gross domestic product. Now, when President Obama took over office, he criticized Republican George Bush as being irresponsible and for having failed leadership when the U.S. was only $10 trillion in debt. Now that Obama's leaving office, nearly 8 years later, the U.S. is almost double that in debt at $19 trillion. If that isn't an example of hypocrisy and failed leadership by Obama's own standards, nothing is. Polls show that most Americans do not want or like the two candidates that are running for president. They want a third-party alternative. In fact, a shrewd analyst would say to the United States people, you have a population of 320 million people. Is Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton the two best that you can come up with as a candidate to be the leader of the so-called free world? One would argue that Americans can do much better. Indeed, they must do much better, because whoever inherits the White House next is going to also inherit problems that the United States has never faced before. There are unprecedented challenges from everybody from Russia to China to terrorism. The threat of terrorism now against the United States and the rest of the world has never been greater. And this has happened during the two-term presidency of Barack Obama. This is not to say that this is all Obama's fault, but he has not helped the issue in many areas. One of the reasons that Syria is still unstable and is in fact worse than when Obama took office is because Barack Obama and his then Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, decided to meddle in the affairs of Syria, try to overthrow its brutal dictator Bashar Assad, which was a foolish thing to do. It has not worked out, and what right does the United States have to do such things? The answer is none. The European Union is about to pass a series of laws overhauling copyright issues. This will impact, if the new policies become law, large search engine companies like Google. The short version of the new proposed laws is this. Publishers have been complaining that they are losing money because of the internet. Well, it's not that simple, of course, but publishers pay bribes and campaign contributions to politicians, of course, who are then all too happy to do the bidding of their masters. So here's the deal. Under the new proposed EU laws, and they've been a failure in Germany and Spain when they tried to impose the same thing, Google will no longer be able to include small snippets of news items from content providers without paying a fee to those providers, unless that fee is waived. In Spain, this didn't work. In fact, Google shut down its news service in protest, and Spain has never recovered from that. While publishers will have the option, of course, not to charge a fee, if they want to, Google will have no choice but to either shut down that service or pay it. Although there is the nuclear deal between Iran and the United States, tensions still flare between the two countries. Iran is busy once again harassing American naval ships in the waters off the coastline of its country. What Iran loves to do is take its vast fleet of speedboats, these are small boats that go at very fast speeds, and they like to harass ships, especially American ones. Despite repeated warnings, the United States Navy fired 3 shots at an Iranian speedboat. The speedboat then stood down and calmer common sense prevailed. Why Iran continues to provoke the United States in this manner, you'd have to ask Iran. The country of France is under attack presently by the left-wing la-la liberal media. CNN is one of the TV networks that has jumped on this bandwagon, and CNN should be embarrassed. What happened is CNN ran a ridiculous story recently that asked the question, is France turning into another Iran? Can you believe that, folks? The answer is absolutely not. You cannot compare the two. Iran, unlike France, is a semi-totalitarian dictatorship disguised as a democracy. Its laws are religious-based, not secular-based. If you're gay in Iran, they will hang you publicly by cranes and kill you. I repeat what I just said. In Iran, because they are extremist, driven by hatred and intolerance, if you are a homosexual, they will kill you. Being gay carries the death penalty in Iran. So how can CNN possibly claim that France is becoming the next Iran? This is a completely moronic, outright stupid statement, but yet CNN has made this commentary. They've actually published an article to this effect. Now, here's what CNN has a problem with, and it's kind of a joke in a way. In the city of Nice, France, and I've been to Nice, France, it's one of my favorite cities. They have wonderful beaches there. Police find a woman who was wearing a burkini and at first refused to take it off. Now, a burkini is a combination of what is supposed to be a bikini and a burqa. It actually isn't, but some Islamic women or some Muslims wear it as a kind of compromise so that they don't have to fully cover themselves from head to toe. They can still go to the beach. It's semi-comfortable in the water, although it weighs you down because it becomes heavy once it's wet. That's just physics. So instead of wearing a bikini like most of the people do, or a one-piece bathing suit, they wear what is called a burkini. Now, the reason that this violates French laws is not because this is anti-Islamic, which is nonsense argument. The reason it violates French laws is because French laws are secular driven. The French have passed laws for years now outlawing what they call the conspicuous display of religious symbols. In other words, their attitude is you can be whatever religion you want as long as you don't harm people, but keep it to yourself. Don't parade it around for the rest of the world to see. So let's say that you're a Christian and you're wearing a big crucifix around your neck. Guess what? The police will tell you to take it off or hide it. Don't make it conspicuous. And when you wear a burqa, like it or not, because of the nature of a burqa, it is conspicuous. And it is safe to assume, more so than not, that if you wander around in a burqa, you're probably a Muslim, okay? Now, while there's nothing wrong with wearing a burqa, as long as it's not forced on you, that's a different issue entirely, left-wing la-la liberals are upset that this denies freedom of choice. Well, it does, let's be honest. The very nature of such laws automatically deny such freedoms of choice. However, France is not discriminating against just one group of people. If anything, they are leveling the playing field for everyone. I repeat, if you give or show what is considered to be a conspicuous religious symbol, whether it be a large crucifix hanging around your neck or a burkini, the French police will make you hide it or take it down or not display it. And if you refuse to cooperate, they will fine you. That is the law. Now contrast this to Iran once again. The issue of murdering homosexuals aside, which France does not do, but Iran continues to do. The French don't have torture. Torture is official policy of the government of Iran. In France, there's freedom of speech, but you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater, just like you can't do that in the United States. And there's logical reasons for that. In Iran, there is not freedom of speech. The Iranian government won't permit it. The Iranian government has an official holiday called Jerusalem Day, where they celebrate the so-called liberation of the city of Jerusalem from Israel or the Jews. Iran has official slogans that their government cronies chant that say death to America, death to Israel. France does not. So shame on CNN for even trying to mention or compare the brutal government and system that Iran has in place and continues to oppress its people with versus the free, democratic, and liberal-leaning France. In Iran, if a woman is nude, that's considered a sin. She can be punished, she can be raped, she can be imprisoned. In France, nudity is no big deal. It's not considered sinful because France is a secular country. I've been to the beaches of Nice, France. Yes, I've seen nude women there, topless women specifically. It's no big deal. But in Iran, it can get you killed. In France, you might get a thumbs up. So it's a very different culture. Shame on CNN for even trying to equate the two. What's going on in their so-called journalism head? You'd have to ask CNN.